With the 2022 midterm elections gearing up in May, Democrats and Republicans around the country are looking to win back and defend their seats as they battle for control of Congress. And what better case study on that battle than the state of Georgia, after it narrowly handed Democrats a majority in the U.S. Senate last year. So joining us now is Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporter and author of the new book, Flipped: How Georgia Turned Purple and Broke the Monopoly on Republican Power, Greg Bluestein. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Greg.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Definitely. Well, in your book, you look at the question that is top of mind for many as we enter this next election cycle. Did Georgia flip from red to purple, or was the 2020 election cycle just a one-off year with exceptional circumstances and candidates that may have led to the flip? Also, what did you find when examining that question?
Yeah, well, we're about to find out if it's just fleeting, if it's a fluke, or if this is more of a permanent change. But we clearly know that Georgia is a state in transition. I think it's the most politically divided state in the nation, and I believe it's the biggest test of Donald Trump's influence in the entire country coming up in November. What I learned, one of the things I learned, was this was no miracle. This was no overnight success for Democrats. This took years of painstaking work, a different message, and an energizing ability to reach out to voters that felt disconnected, disengaged, disenchanted from the political process, with new messages to get them to vote in midterm elections and presidential elections that they bypassed in the past.
And Greg, you do a deep dive into the Senate campaigns of Reverend Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff and how they were able to help Democrats win statewide. What do you think both parties took away from those elections? Also, what might you see Republicans doing differently, and what will Democrats be trying to replicate in 2022?
Well, first thing Democrats will try to replicate is rebuilding that coalition that helped Joe Biden narrowly win in Georgia. And that won't be easy, especially with Donald Trump not on the ballot. What Republicans have working in their favor is that Donald Trump is not out there saying, go vote in a rigged election, right? The mixed messages that Republicans faced here in Georgia and around the country last year, that won't be as much of an issue. But still, the big lie, all these false conspiracies about widespread election fraud, that continues to plague Republicans in a way that we just don't know how it will affect the outcome of the May primary or the November election in Georgia, but we know it's still an ever-present concern for Democrats here. And Democrats, they're facing an uphill battle.
Stacey Abrams, who is again running for governor this year and is one of the most notable figures in Georgia's shift because of the work of her grassroots voter registration movement. So what is your view? Can Abrams replicate the voter mobilization strengths that she showed in 2018 and 2020? What kind of test will 2022 be for her methods and the movement that she's been building?
You know, now she is such a national force. I mean, she's raised her profile even more so than she was running for governor. Now she's even a bigger name brand among Democratic politicians and the Democratic electorate. But that comes with its risks, too. She is an arch villain in the minds of many Republican voters here in Georgia, and they won't be caught sleeping now, right? They know the threat that she poses to their election candidacy. So right now, you're already hearing Governor Brian Kemp, former Senator David Perdue, who are both battling for the Republican nomination, they're both saying that they're the better candidate to beat her, that only they can defeat her in November. So it's a very interesting message they're trying to push, they're trying to promote right now, is that both of them will be the only candidates who can beat Stacey Abrams. Meanwhile, Stacey Abrams can kind of sit back and watch the two of them duke it out and focus on a broader base message, expanding Medicaid, fighting for gun control. These are issues that she believes poll really well with the broader Democratic electorate.
On the Republican side, we've seen an organized push both across the country and in the state of Georgia to overhaul voting laws in ways that may favor their candidates. Based on what you saw at the grassroots level in your reporting on 2020, do you see this being a large obstacle to the Democratic Party and their efforts to keep Georgia purple?
In a very tight election, it could be a major obstacle. We saw in Georgia in 2020, just 11,000 or so votes divided Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So if it's an election that close again, then every little bit counts. And these election changes, which call for tighter windows for absentee ballot request forms, which restrict ballot drop boxes in many places that had them in abundance in the last election cycle, and that call for other changes. We'll see that come into play. And we just don't know how much it will.
And lastly, Greg, you kind of touched on this earlier. Former President Trump and his efforts to undermine the 2020 vote still looms large over Georgia, and he's looking to make his voice heard in this Georgia race, governor's race this year. How much loyalty does he still command in Georgia Republican circles? And how do you see this battle playing out between Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and former Senator David Perdue?
Polls show that Donald Trump is still wildly popular among the Republican electorate here. Not as popular as a few years ago when he was at 90. He's still in 70s in most polls. But the question is whether or not voters who still admire and favor the former president will go out and vote for his endorsed candidates. And right now, it's looking really tough for David Perdue, who is behind double digits in the polls to Governor Brian Kemp, who Trump has put on the top or at near the top of his revenge list. So David Perdue faces an uphill challenge right now, but still, no one's counting David Perdue out because you just don't know the magnetism of the Donald Trump endorsement right now.
We will be watching to see how that all unfolds. Greg Bluestein, thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. His book, Flipped, is available now.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.